Picture this, you're sitting at home, working. Your kids are in online class, life feels normal. And then suddenly the Wi-Fi dies, not because of a storm, not because of a tech glitch, but because your homeowners association decided to pull the plug. That's right, the OA thought they could control me by cutting off my internet. They called it enforcing community rules, what they didn't realize. I'm not just another homeowner. I own the only internet service provider in the entire county, so when they shut off my line, they didn't just disconnect me. They took down hundreds of their own neighbors, including themselves. And the chaos that followed? Well, let's just say this neighborhood never looked at the HOA the same way again. My name is Benjamin Carter. I've been living in Cedarwood Estates for more than 10 years. Most people here know me as the quiet tech guy. What they don't know is that I also run the only internet service provider in the entire county. Years ago, no big company wanted to bring the internet here, so I built it myself. I set up towers, dishes, and lines so that families could stay connected. It wasn't fancy, but it worked. And funny enough, even the HOA board members were using my service every single day asterisk. But then came the problems. The HOA president, Deborah Marks, started complaining about my setup. She said my satellite dish looked ugly, that my equipment box didn't match the neighborhood style, and that my wires were a hazard. I tried to explain to her calmly, this isn't just for me. This keeps the whole community online, even her own house, but she would rather not hear it asterisk. The letters started. First a warning, then a fine, then another fine. The last letter said, I had 7 days to remove everything or they would take action. Imagine that the same people using my internet were threatening to shut it down asterisk. I thought it was just more HOA drama. They had tried little things before and I always ignored them. But this time was different. Behind those letters, they were already planning something much bigger asterisk, and when they finally made their move, it didn't just affect me. It threw the entire neighborhood into chaos. I thought the HOA was bluffing. I mean, who in their right mind would actually try to cut off the internet for the entire neighborhood? But then small signs started showing up. I'd see board members walking past my property more often, pointing at the cables. A couple of nights I even noticed a truck parked near the relay box down the street. At first I brushed it off, thinking maybe it was a coincidence asterisk. Then one evening I got a text from my neighbor. She wrote, Ben, the HOA president, was bragging at the clubhouse today. She said she had a way to finally get rid of your equipment. For good, that's when I knew. This wasn't just noise anymore. They weren't planning to find me. They were planning to pull the plug themselves asterisk, and here's the thing. When they made their move, it wasn't just going to hurt me. It was going to cut off everyone, every student on Zoom, every person working from home, even their own families, but they didn't care. They were so focused on winning their little power game, they didn't stop to think about the disaster they were about to cause. It all happened on a Friday morning. I was working in my home office when suddenly the internet went out. My first thought was maybe one of my towers glitched, but then I checked my system dashboard, and that's when I saw something strange asterisk. The signal wasn't down by accident. Someone had physically disconnected the main relay box near the clubhouse. And who had access to it? Only the HOA asterisk. I rushed outside, and sure enough, a group of board members were standing around the box. Deborah Marks was right there, clipboard in her hand. Smiling like she had just won, I walked up and asked, What do you think you're doing? She looked at me and said, We told you, Benjamin. Your equipment is not approved by the HOA. We are shutting it down until you comply with our rules. I tried to warn them. You don't understand? This isn't just my internet. You're cutting off the entire county. People are working, kids are in class, but she cut me off. That's not our concern. Rules are rules. Within minutes, my phone started buzzing nonstop. Neighbors were calling, panicking. Families had no Wi-Fi. The local grocery store couldn't process payments. Even the sheriff's office line was down because their connection ran through my network. I could hear people shouting from their houses. Parents came out onto the street angry, asking what was going on. And all the while, the HOA board stood there acting proud of what they'd done asterisk. I felt anger boiling up, but I stayed calm. Because what they didn't know is that I built this entire system. I knew every switch, every backup, every override. And if they thought they had the power to control me, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. When I realized what the HOA had done, I didn't panic. I knew my system better than anyone. They thought pulling one relay box would kill my entire network, but I had designed it with multiple fail-safes, walked back into my home office, took a deep breath, and typed a few commands. Within seconds, the whole county's internet was rerouted. Through a different backup line, my dashboard lit up green again, connections restored asterisk, but I made one small change. I kept the HO clubhouse offline asterisk. The effect was instant. Families across town cheered as their Wi-Fi came back. Kids jumped back into their online classes. Businesses reopened their payment systems. Even the sheriff's office called to thank me, but the HOA board, their phones went dead, their emails froze, and their precious clubhouse cameras went dark asterisk. I stepped outside, and the scene was unforgettable. Neighbors were gathered in the street, holding up their phones with smiles. "It's back." "Thank you, Ben," they shouted. Meanwhile, Deborah and her board stood frozen by the relay box, staring at their screens like someone had just pulled the rug from under them asterisk. I walked right up and said calmly, "Looks like you managed to cut yourselves off. Everyone else is fine. Maybe next time, think before you try to shut down the county's internet." The crowd laughed. Some even clapped. You could see the embarrassment burning on Deborah's face. She tried to argue, saying, "This isn't fair, you're targeting us." But everyone around her shut her down. One man yelled, "You did this to yourself." Another neighbor added, "You've been bullying him for months, and now you've embarrassed all of us." The HOA board had no defense. Their little power move had backfired in front of the entire neighborhood. And the best part? There was nothing they could do to stop me. I didn't just provide the internet, I was the internet for this county. For once, the HOA didn't hold the power. I did, and the whole community finally saw it. In the days that followed, the story of what happened spread like wildfire. Everyone in the neighborhood knew the truth. The HOA had tried to cut me off, and in the process, they had humiliated themselves in front of the entire community. Neighbors who had been silent before started speaking up. Families told me how scared they were when the internet went down. Parents said their kids missed important schoolwork. One small business owner told me she lost hundreds of dollars in sales during those hours. And every single one of them blamed the HOA asterisk. The board tried to save face. Deborah sent out a long email calling the outage a technical misunderstanding, but people weren't buying it. They had seen her with their own eyes, standing there. When the internet went down, they remembered her smug smile before everything backfired asterisk. At the next HOA meeting, the room was packed. Normally, maybe 10 people showed up. This time, almost the entire neighborhood came. And one by one, residents demanded answers asterisk. I didn't even have to say much. My neighbors did it for me. They stood up and told the board how reckless and selfish their actions were. Some shouted. Some demanded Deborah resign asterisk. For the first time, the HOA board wasn't in control. They were cornered, outnumbered, and completely exposed asterisk. By the end of the night, Deborah announced she was stepping down as president. 2 other board members followed. The HOA had lost its grip asterisk. After that, things in Cedarwood Estates changed. People stopped being afraid of the board. They realized that rules were meant to protect the community, not to be used as weapons. And every time I walked down the street, neighbors would smile, wave, and thank me for standing up to them asterisk. I never wanted to be the hero of the neighborhood. I just wanted to provide the internet. But that day taught everyone something bigger. When bullies try to take power they don't deserve, they always end up cutting themselves off asterisk. And as for the HOA, let's just say they never messed with my equipment again. In fact, these days, they pay their bills on time and they keep very quiet. But if you think this story was wild, wait until you hear what happened when the HOA tried to shut down my power. That one turned the entire town upside down asterisk. And now I am asking you, but if you think this story was wild, wait until you hear what happened when the HOA tried to shut down my power. That one turned the entire town upside down. What do you think? Should an HOA even have the right to control things like the internet and utilities, or is that going too far? Let me know in the comments because I'd love to hear your thoughts.
This was just one story. But the next one will be even more dramatic. Are you ready? Then you need to subscribe to HOA Stories 87 right now. Like this video, share it with your friends, and hit the bell because the next story might sound a little too close to home.